Namaste, welcome to my channel. I am Ravi Shashank and you are watching Car Affinity. So today it's going to be a comprehensive review of the Maruti Suzuki XL6 2020. So I'm going to cover the exterior, the interior, all the technical details and of course the driving experience. A little bit about the XL6. So the XL6 is a premium version of the Suzuki Ertiga which is offered in countries such as India, Philippines, South Africa, Indonesia, Myanmar, etc. Currently, second generation of the Ertiga and XL6 are in production, which are based on the hardtech platform. XL6 is offered through Nexa dealerships, which is the premium wing of Maruti Suzuki in India. And the XL6 was launched in 2019 with a facelift being introduced in April of 2022. Let's move on to the exterior. The profile of the XL6 is like that of a 5-door MPV, balanced, uniform and inoffensive, which I quite like. It's a design which is modern and subtle at the same time, which is saying that Maruti was careful in designing this car to appeal to a larger demographic. It is about 4.4 meters long, 1.77 meters wide and 1.7 meters tall. I personally like the design. Design cues which I would like to point out are the integration of the grille into the LED headlamps, plastic cladding around the front fog lamps, metal looking skid plate on the front, plastic bits for the fender, blacked out mirrors to make it look a bit more sporty. This plastic bit, I don't know what it's for. So skid plate looking things on the side and wide fenders on the rear quarters again. It has got a floating roof line which admittedly it looks nice. Tall upright tail lamps which are of course LED, blacked out bits here and another skid plate looking thing on the bottom. So to get in the XL6 you can unlock it using the key fob and lock it, but since this is a proximity key, keep the key in your pocket, walk up to the vehicle, press this button, but it only unlocks the driver door. You can open this. Similarly on the other side you can only open these individual front doors using this button. Press it again, locks the whole car. You have a similar button here, you press it and then you can open the trunk. No other door can be opened by this button. Then if you close it, suppose if you have luggage in your hand and you cannot take out the key fob to lock it again, you can press this button and it locks the whole car. Some interesting bits of the interior are it has a wood and metal finish which spans the entire front portion of the interior. One giant air vent, although plastic bits in the middle to show its continuity. Fully black interior, but the upper upholstery is of a lighter color, which is certainly more interesting than a boring grey plastic interior. The interesting thing is the front dome light. You can turn it on by pushing the light itself, or you can use this switch to turn it on, and if it's in the middle and you open the door, it gradually turns on, which is nice, and after closing the door it turns off after about 15 seconds if the car is off. If the engine is on, open and close the door, it turns off immediately. Nice feature. Let's talk about the front row. So the ingress is good and I have good leg space, shoulder space and headroom, and if I close the door while driving I can rest my right arm on the windowsill here, and if I want to rest my left arm, then what I can do is I can push this forward and I can rest my arm here also. So it has a very comfortable position. Let's talk about the seats. So the seats are comfortable, they are cushiony, they have light support on the side which is good. They have also good head support, and thigh support is minimal but it's fine. The seats are manually controllable. You can adjust the steering column. Speaking of the second row, the ingress into the second row is pretty easy, although I have to stretch my legs a little bit to get into here because of the long door. Speaking of space, I have a surprisingly lot of leg room for this segment. I have good headroom and shoulder room also. I have nice cushioned armrest, cushioned seats. These captain chairs are just really nice. They are very comfortable, nicely bolstered and very supportive. I can also rest both of my arms here. These seats are also manually adjustable. Nice. Now there are three ways to get into the third row. One is obviously you can travel through the passageway between the seats, and the next one is there is a lever here, you can pull it, pull the seat forward, then you can get in. But there is a third way which is the easiest, I would say. There is a latch up on this seat, you pull it and the seat goes forward in one motion. It also tilts and the seat moves forward as a whole. Now you can get in to the third row in this rearmost position. Surprisingly, I can still fit, although my legs are a little bit cramped, but I am 5 feet 8 inches tall. Even in this rearmost position I can fit, which is very good. I can pull this headrest up and even tilt this seat using this latch a little bit backwards, which is just amazing. Let's talk about the trunk. To access it, there is no separate latch in the driver's footwell as other cars. Instead, there is a simple latch just like a door latch to open the trunk. If the doors are open, you can open the trunk as well, which is very easy, very convenient. Now, with the third row in place, this thing has, I think, about 211 liters, which doesn't sound much, but it can easily fit two suitcases. And if you want even more storage, you can lift this panel up and you have more storage. And to increase the boot space, you use this latch to fold the third row seats forward, which I earlier used to tilt it backwards. So you pull this latch, so the load floor becomes uniform. Similarly for this side as well. So you have a lot of space here, which is very convenient for long road trips if you want to. Now to open the bonnet, you have to pull a latch. Here is the engine. It is a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder petrol engine which produces 103 bhp and 138 newton meters of torque, which is mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox in this variant. There is another variant which has a automatic transmission. For suspension, this has McPherson struts in the front which are independent, and there is also a solid axle coil spring rear suspension. And for brakes, this has disc brakes in the front and drum brakes in the rear, as are most of the cars nowadays. Now let's see some of the controls in here. So here are all the electric window switches. It also has electric mirrors which we can adjust using this toggle switch, and there is also a window lock button, and there is a lock and unlock button up here. Now let me talk you through some steering controls. So up on the left you can change the mode, you can change the track, and you can mute using these three buttons. Up on the right you have the cruise control, so you can enable it using this button, and then you can cancel it. You can also do the increments and decrements through here. Down below here are the controls for your phone. Once you connect your phone through Bluetooth, you can enable voice command. You can also receive and disconnect calls through here. Moving on to the gauge cluster, you get the ignition position once you press the start button twice, and you can see the LCD screen in the middle and all the warning lights which get displayed inside the gauge cluster. It displays certain information such as time, temperature, your odometer, and it also displays a cool graphic which shows at what point of time will the motor kick in and at what point of time is the engine moving under its normal power. And you also have a light which displays if you are in eco mode or you are in normal mode. Now let me talk you through the infotainment screen. If you press the start button once, it shows you a Maruti graphic. Now it is a little weird that half the infotainment screen is covered by this radio, and also when you connect something, for instance your phone, and some music plays, but after the music finishes playing, the radio will start off again, and as soon as you start the infotainment screen, the radio starts. No matter how many times we have tried to stop the radio, it doesn't happen. Anyway, so this is another gray panel which shows you the time and the date, And interestingly, above that there is time displayed again within 1 inch of each other, and if you touch this you can see the time again. Okay, so next thing is, if you tell the infotainment screen to connect your phone, see what it tells you back. It tells you no, you connect your smartphone. Next up is paired devices. You can connect your phone using Bluetooth from here, only for music or only for calls, etc. And then you have media. You can choose a wide variety of stuff. The reverse parking camera is just about functional. It's not very high resolution. I was saying that the infotainment screen in this vehicle is not one of the best, and I wish they improved it a little bit, and I'm sure they have in the facelifted version. Here are the controls for the AC. Here is a little LCD screen which displays all the controls for the AC, your blower, your temperature, everything. And then these two are for the window defrosters, and you press this to switch off the blowers. These cup holders are ventilated. You can turn on or off the blowers using this switch. So let's get going. Alright, I'll start with the steering. So the steering is really light, easy to maneuver when you're parking or when you're taking a U-turn. It is typical of Maruti vehicles, since they have started using power steering, is that they are really easy to maneuver for city traffic. As the speeds get higher, it gets heavier in a positive way, which helps in highway driving. Next up I want to talk about is the foot controls. So the accelerator is also very smooth, very light. It is obviously sensitive being a petrol vehicle, but otherwise it's very light and very linear. The brake pedal is also really smooth, which is sort of the recurring theme of this car, to provide easy driving experience inside the city and for effortless cruising on the highway. The clutch is also very smooth and very light, but takes a little while to figure out the clutch engagement point. Next up, I want to talk about the visibility. The visibility is good in this car. You have large windows, you have large mirrors with good visibility in them, but as is with any vehicle, there is a major blind spot here. It is a moderately sized blind spot which can hide pretty big objects. There is also a blind spot back there in the C pillars, and due to the seat and the C pillar combination, that can also cause a little bit of problem if you are reversing into something. But the rear parking camera does it nicely, and it covers quite a lot of stuff. I've put the car in neutral and parked it. I'm waiting at a red light and the engine has shut off, which is the work of the smart hybrid technology. It has a lithium-ion battery and an integrated starter generator, ISG. As soon as I need to go, I press the clutch and the engine starts. The engine starting due to the ISG is smoother than the normal starter. There is also a button here. You can press it to disable the auto start stop if you are not used to it. So I want to talk about the gear action right now. It slots into gear fine, but sometimes it doesn't go into reverse properly. I don't know why, and I wish it had a little bit more clunk. I'm not saying it's vague, but I wish it had given a better feedback. Again, this is not a sports car, so the intent wasn't that. A little bit about suspension now. So for the city, it is fine, but I wish it had independent suspension in the back as well. But to make things simple, they just did a solid axle thing. It soaks up the bumps well. It responds well to the undulations on the road. But the rear suspension is a little bit more rigid. I think it's more rigid than the Ertiga. In the pursuit of making this thing sportier, they made a suspension a little bit rigid. It's not uncomfortable by any means, but I'm saying that it could have been softer. But it's good. It's a reliable, robust suspension. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about performance. Now we are at a standstill, and I would like to accelerate. Well, as you can see, it's not bad. Tripod fell, sorry for that. So as I had mentioned earlier, this has 103 bhp and 138 newton meters of torque, and the integrated starter generator gives a little power assist from 1500 rpm onwards to 2000 rpm, after which the gasoline engine kicks in. The power actually starts coming after 2000 rpm. So I wish this vehicle had a little bit more torque, but I think it's enough. It's more than adequate to get this vehicle moving, to keep up with modern traffic, as this is a modern vehicle at this price point. So 100 bhp is not bad at all, and it's enough to propel this vehicle, which weighs about 1200 kilos. So the clutch feels smooth when you reach upwards of 2500 rpm. Then the clutch feels really smooth. Otherwise, its engagement point is a little farther back. And as I just accelerated, it feels pretty spry. You know, it's not a sports car, but it's more than adequate for going around in the city. And I'm sure that it does pretty well at highway speeds also. 100, 120 easy. It easily cruises at those speeds. Speaking of handling, this handles more like that of a car than that of an SUV, which is actually the intent. This is more like a crossover, the height, etc. It has a little bit of body roll, but while city speeds you won't even feel it. Sitting at a stoplight, I just disabled the auto start stop feature, so it started the engine right away. You don't feel the engine vibrations. If you are in the passenger seat, you will not even feel it. Just because I am in the driver's seat and my foot is on the brake pedal, I can feel a little bit of vibrations. You don't hear too much from the outside. Excellent vibration and noise dampening. It certainly has more vibration and noise dampening than the Ertiga. So they have actually tried making this more premium than the Ertiga. So the final verdict of this car: XL6 was designed to be city friendly and to be a highway cruiser as well. It is a reliable, practical crossover which is entirely based on ease of driving and convenience, which this does pretty well. And it has more than adequate power. It handles fine. The suspension is sort of okay. So that's all for this video. I tried my best to give you a comprehensive review of the XL6 and the driving experience as well. If you like this video, then please press the like button. Please share and subscribe to my channel. That's all for this video. See you next time. Goodness.